My family called me a failure at my own company's Christmas party. The reveal destroyed them. My stepmother looked at me with pure disgust and hissed. Security will escort you out if you don't leave voluntarily. This party is for successful people only. I smiled and replied, perfect. Let me call my head of security. What happened next absolutely shattered their perfect little world. I am Daniel, 34, and his nuclear explosion happened just last month at what was supposed to be a joyful family Christmas gathering. My father, Richard, 15'8", had remarried 5 years ago to Miranda, 45, a woman who came with her own son, Trevor, 28. From day one, they made it clear I was the family disappointment. While Trevor was their golden boy, the setup was perfect for a maximum humiliation. Miranda had looked the platinum ballroom at the Meridian Tower for their annual Christmas party. The same building where I spent 60 hours a week running the companies I would build for nothing. The irony was delicious, but they had no idea. 8 years ago, when I left my father's small law practice to start a tech company, the family reaction was brutal. You were throwing away a stable career for someone ridiculous app idea. My father had said, no, son of mine is going to be a basement dealing computer nerd. Brenda was even more ambitious. At least Trevor has ambition. He's going to be a real lawyer, not some failed entrepreneur living in a fantasy. So I let them believe what they wanted. While they thought I was struggling with a failing startup, I would actually build next acceleration into $1 billion software empire, the company that owned the very building they were partying in tonight. I arrived at the party fashionably late, wearing a simply navy suit, customary red and Milan. But they would not know that. The elevator operator James recognized me immediately. Good evening, Mr. Daniel. Shall I take you directly to Penthouse office? Not tonight. James, I am attending the party on the fourth floor. His eyebrows raised slightly. The Thompson parties are. There's my family. I finished with a wry smile. The elevator doors opened to reveal the platinum ballroom, elegantly decorated with crystal candelabras. I personally selected when I purchased the building 3 years ago. The room was filled with my father's legal colleagues, Minder's real estate friends, and Trevor's law school buddies, all people who dismissed me as a failure. I barely made it 5 steps before Miranda spotted me. Daniel, she said, her voice dripping with false concern. What are you doing here? This is a professional gathering. I was invited. I replied calmly, though technically, I've been invited myself by seeing the booking request cross my desk. Trevor appeared beside his mother, looking sharp in what I recognized as a dream task. Danny boy, still playing with computers in your little apartment. My little apartment was actually a 15 million penthouse in Manhattan, but I just smiled. Something like that, well, you can't stay long. Miranda continued, adjusting her knock-off channel dress. These are important people, lawyers, real estate executives, business owners, successful professions. I glanced around the room, mentally cataloging the faces. Half of them were clients of my company, though they dealt with my executives and had never met me personally. The other half were people whose business I could buy with pocket change. Understand, I said success is important. My father approached looking embraced. Daniel saw, maybe this is not best time. Melinda's worked very hard to organize this networking event in my building. I almost said but caught myself. Richard, one of his law partners, called out, is this your other son? The one who dropped out of law to play video games. Trevor finished with a laugh. Yeah, that's our Danny. Still waiting for his big break. The conversation was so thick I could taste it around us. Conversation continued about $1 million deals and six-figure salaries while I stood there supposedly representing the family's greatest shame. Actually, I said quietly, I did get my big break. Miranda rolled her eyes. Let me guess, someone finally bought your little app for a few thousand. Something like that. Trevor clapped me on the shoulder patronizingly. Good for you, buddy. Maybe now you can afford to take Dad and Miranda out to dinner at a nice restaurant. To thank them for not giving up on you completely. That's generous of you. Trevor, speaking of restaurants, how is your job search going? His face darkened. I'm being selective, only considering offers from top tier firms. I knew from my HR department's background checks that Trevor had been rejected by 12 law firms in the first 6 months. His grades were not good enough for the prestigious positions he wanted, and his attitude wasn't good enough for the ones who could get. I'm sure something will come up, I said diplomatically, unlike some people. Miranda interjected. Tabor has standards. He won't take just any job. Just then, a common commotion near the elevator caught our attention. A group of impeccably dressed executives had entered, and the energy in the room shifted immediately. I recognized them instantly. My executive team arriving for what they thought was a routine building inception. Sarah Chan, my chief operating officer, spotted me across the room and started walking over with a confused expression. Behind her were Marcus Webb, my chief financial officer, and Jennifer Rodriguez, my VP of strategic department. Daniel Sarah called out, her voice carrying across the room. What are you doing here? I thought you were reviewing the quarterly reports tonight. The conversation around us began to fade as people turned to look. My family expression shifted from confusion to concern. Change of plans. I repeated casually, Sarah, I would like to meet my family. This is my father, Richard, my stepmother, Miranda, and my stepbrother, Trevor. Sarah's professional smile faltered slightly as she connected the doors. Definitely, but is this from some party in our building? Your building? Miranda interrupted. Her voice sharp. Marcus stepped forward, extending his hand to my father. Mr. Thompson, it's an honor to meet Daniel father. I am Marcus Webb, CFO of Next Solutions. Your son is absolutely brilliant, youngest CEO to ever take a company public in our sector. The silence that followed was deafening. CEO. Trevor's voice cracked slightly. Jennifer joined the conversation, completely oblivious to the tension. Daniel, the building management, wanted to confirm should we comp the interparty since it's your family. And the Peninsula Hotel called about your dinner reservation tomorrow with the Japanese investors. My father's face went pale. Daniel, what is that talking about? Before I could answer, the elevator opened again and James announced, Mr. Daniel, your car is here for the evening inspection of the downtown properties. Cancel that. I said I will be staying a bit longer. Miranda grabbed my arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my jacket. It's some kind of joke, right? You are not actually the CEO of Next Tech Solution. I finished the company that owns this building along with 15 others in the city. A company that just signed a 500 million government contract last month. That company, Trevor stumbled backward, knocking into waiter carrying champagne. But you said you were struggling with a startup. No, I corrected. You assumed I was struggling. I never actually said that, Sarah. Finally understanding the situation. Smart likely 30 under 30 foot was 3 years ago. But the recent tech missionaries reshaping America page was quite flattering. The room had gone completely silent now. Everyone is straining to hear our conversation. My father found his voice fast. All this time when he thought we were failing, he was building an empire. I said simply, the same empire that incidentally employs half the people in this room as contractors or clients. I gestured toward a group of lawyers near the bar. Johnson and Associates over there. They handle employment law, the Davidson Group by the windows, the lease officer space in three of my buildings, in Harrison Financial Services. They manage the pension fund for my 2,000 employees. Miranda's face cycled through several shades of red. But why did not you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked. When I left that farm 8 years ago, you called me a basement dwelling computer nerd. You said I was throwing my life away. Even tonight, you tried to have me thrown out for not being successful enough. Trevor was starting at his phone, frantically googling. Holy shit, he whispered next tech solution net or Daniel Thompson. CEO, Forbes estimates $1.2 billion, I said helpfully. Thought that was before the government contract, so it's probably closer to 1.5 billion now. The sound of champagne glasses hitting the floor echoed through the room as several people simply lost their grip. My father sat down heavily in the nearest chair. The penthouse apartment you mentioned visiting last month, I own it. The whole building, actually, along with the Meridian Tower, the Harrison Complex, and most of the Riverside Estate. Sarah's phone buzzed. Daniel sorry to interrupt, but the Wall Street Journal want to schedule that interview about the merger talks with Pinnacle Corporation. Handle it, I said, then turned back to my family. Merger talks that would make Nextech the largest privately held tech company in North America for context. Miranda was hyperventilating. The vacation we could not afford last summer when you offered to pay. I was being polite. I own three resorts in the Caribbean and a villa Usankanian. We could have stayed anywhere you wanted free of charge. David's phone slipped from his trembling hands. All this time, I bragged about my law school internships at firms that pay me consulting fees. I nodded. I would probably sign your paychecks indirectly. The crowd had come from a circle around us now. Everyone watching the drama unfold. I recognized several faces. Those who had ignored me at previous family gatherings, who had made jokes about the family failure behind my back. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced to the room, I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate Christmas in my building. The bar is open all night, courtesy of Next Tech Solutions. The police was thunderous, mixed with nervous laughter and whispered conversation as people frantically tried to recall every dismissive comment they would ever made about me. Richard Harrison from Harrison Financial Services pushed through the crowd. Daniel, I had no idea you were Richard's son. We've been trying to get a meeting with you for months about expanding our services. I know, I said my assistant as you requested. We'll be in touch. Thomas Davidson from the Davidson Group was right behind him about those lease renewals in the Meridian complex. I will approve, I said. Though the rates are going up 15%, market value. As the evening progressed, the dynamic shifted completely. People who had spent years treating me like the family investment were now competing for my attention. Business cards appeared from nowhere. Investment opportunities were pitched over cocktails. Everyone wanted to be me, my new best friend, but the best part was watching my family process the revelation. Miranda kept starting at me like I was a stranger. The simple clothes, the modest car, a Tesla Model S Plaid. I corrected. I have 7 cars, but I prefer understand. Lamborghini draws too much attention. Trevor was going doing net on his phone. If we are worth over $1 billion and I am your stepbrother. You're my stepbrother who called me a basement dealing computer nerd last Christmas. I reminded him and suggested I should be grateful for the family's charity and even inviting me to gatherings. My father stood up, tears in his eyes. Daniel, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. I was so wrong about everything. Yes, I agreed. You were. Can you even forgive us? I looked around the room at the executives who respected my vision, at the family whose dreams made my dreams. In the buildings, I would purchase with money they thought I did not have. Debt forgiveness is not the issue. Respect is. For 8 years, you'll be measured by your limited understanding of your success. You evaluate your potential over my actual achievements. You were embraced by me at family gatherings because I did not fit your definition of successful. I paused, letting that sink in. But here's the thing, I never needed your approval to succeed. I built this empire without your support, your connections, or your belief in me. I did despite your disappointment, not because of your encouragement. Miranda was crying now. Her makeup is shaking. You can start over. We can be a real family. We can try, I said carefully, but understand, I'm not the same person you will be dismissing all these years. I'm the CEO of a $1 billion company, employ thousands of people. I make decisions that affect entire industries. I can't pretend to be the family figure anymore. It would make me comfortable. Trevor found his voice again about this job applications I had been struggling with. I held up a hand. Stop right there. If you want to work in tech, earn it. If you want me help, prove you deserve it. But don't expect family connection to override 8 years of treating me like garbage. As the party winded down, people lingered, hoping for one more chance to network with the mysterious who they would just discovered. My executive team stayed close, productive, and slightly amused by the whole situation. Sir, Sarah said quietly, your driver is downstairs whenever you are ready. 5 more minutes, I said, watching my family huddle together in intense conversation. My father approached one last time. Daniel, tomorrow could we have lunch? Just us. I want to understand how I got everything so wrong. I considered the request. The man who would call my dreams ridiculous was now asking for my time, my attention, my forgiveness. Lunch sound good, I said finally, but Dad, next time you want to judge someone's success, maybe wait until you understand what they are actually doing. I headed toward the elevator, my team flowing. As the doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of the Platinum Ballroom, the room in my building where I would finally take in my rightful place at the family table. The elevator operator smiled. How was the party, Mr. Daniel? Educational, James, very educational. Tomorrow, everything would be defined. Tabor would probably gabble for a job. Me and I would rewrite his story to climb. She would always believe in me. My father would want to mend fences and maybe benefit from my success. But tonight, I would run something more valuable than making money or building a company. I would reclaim my dignity and show them that their opinion of me just that. An opinion and not a very informed one. The basement dealing computer nerd was going home to his $15 million penthouse in the building he owned. The empire he would build, despite everything they would said he could not do, and that was worth more than all the family approval in the world.